It's never a dull day supporting Watford, is it? What a day it's been today. Just the last 24 hours since we stopped recording last night, going through our tier list of rumours. It has been an absolute whirlwind. Pretty much everything that could have gone on has gone on. Welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. My name is Sam, joined by Charlie, and we've got a special guest today, Luka from Georgian Footy. And on Twitter as well, you can see his Twitter handle down there. Because Watford are heavily linked with, if not the deal is completely done now already, with Giorgi Chakvetadze. I think I've got that right. I might have got that wrong.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Charlie, first off, before we get into we'll call him Chakvets for now on. As Luka said, that's what his nickname is out there. Charlie, how are you, mate? What have you taken out of this last 24 hours or so?
The range of emotions. I woke up at about 5 this morning. First thing I looked at, Watford transfer ban. I was like, oh my God. Looked at the weather. The cricket's rained off tomorrow, so I can't go. I was in a foul mood. And then something just popped up on Twitter, saw this little rumour, and the day changed dramatically. Obviously, we had Livermore coming in as well. And then another bit of news with the Papagay case. So an eventful day to be a Watford fan, but looking forward to chatting with Luka and finding out our new recruit.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And Luka, first off, before we get into discussing the new recruit as well, I feel like I'm doing everything I can not to say his name. You want to tell us a bit about you first, your background in Georgian football as well?
To start with, I actually used to play a bit when I was like 14, 15, 16 actually. Used to play against Chakve because we're the same age group, so I had a few games against him. But apart from that, yeah, I mean, the Twitter background just basically comes from my desire to bring Georgian football to a small part of social media, which is Twitter, and I think I'm doing all right up till this point because it's definitely a long road of trying to be consistent and trying to be a bit original to some to gain any kind of interest from people. So yeah.
Luka, how is Georgian football going on the international? Obviously, we've got Kava. Well, I'm not going to again butcher his name over in Napoli, but is there seem to be a bit of a golden age and it's on the rise?
Well, the past couple of years have been decent, mainly because of the Nations League and how we've been drawn to teams that sort of similar level, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, as we have Gibraltar as well, and our C division. So that definitely played a part in us building some kind of momentum to build as a team, as a unit. A few young guys coming in, Quara, one of them, Chakvetadze he's actually like a veteran because he was in the team since 2018 or something like that. So he's not a newcomer. But yeah, loads of new guys, loads of talented players. And slowly but surely, we're kind of gaining some bit of momentum to build up on and maybe qualify for either Euros or the World Cup maybe next year. And well, I mean, we'll qualify for the playoffs of the Nations League. So we have to win 2 games to make it to the Euros. I mean, we're quite close of making history for our country at least, and hopefully that will be the case for us next March next year.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you play against England, then you have nice coverage for yourself there on social media as well. So I think it was you guys who came out with this news about Chakvetadze.
Yeah.
So could you give us some more details about the deal? How did it come about? When did talks start? And I mean, it just seemed to happen really quickly. So what do you know about it?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I never really expected him moving to England up until this point because he was linked with the move to FC Metz in Ligue 1. I think last week was it? Yeah, I think it was last week when the French side offered the loan plus buy option, just the same as Watford did today. And he was basically 90% moving there, but the French team tried to basically buy some time, and eventually that all failed. And today was the first day I actually heard about the rumor. Chaka is actually in London. He's in England. I think he passed his medicals a few hours ago, so confirmation should be coming in maybe now. Who knows? But maybe in a few hours' time. So I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but there's like a picture of him talking to one of the other guys representing like the Georgian football community in a Watford top. So that basically confirms he's at least a rival in England, and maybe in a few hours' time he will be confirmed as a latest signing for Watford.
Yeah, Luka, it's been pretty mad. Like Sam said at the top, we had a video yesterday talking about all of our rumours.
Yeah.
And a lot of Watford fans are unhappy about the lack of recruitment. But it seems under our new sporting director, Ben Manga, that the maybe leaks don't come out as much. The journalists aren't fed any information. And even for Reece Healy, that happened quite quickly. But it's kind of come out of nowhere. Sam, how do you feel about this new approach in terms of no rumours and these transfers are just happening really quickly?
Yeah, I think Jacob, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, put a tweet out earlier saying transfers out of nothing just hit different, don't they? And I think what it's really taught me is that I was getting frustrated by the lack of rumours and the lack of talks around players, but I think this has really shown me that things are happening behind the scenes as well, even when when things aren't being reported on it. And to be honest with you, that's probably the way it should be. There shouldn't be that many leaks. There shouldn't be that many talks coming out until the player is through the door or the deal's nearly done. So, yeah, if anything, it's got me more optimistic with the hope that things are going to be happening even more. But also, Luka, before we get back, Charlie asked you a bit more about what sort of player Chakvetadze is in terms of how he plays. To give people a bit of an introduction, if you had to compare him to a high-profile player at the moment, be it in the Premier League or the Champions League, who would you compare him to? Because I've seen a few people have been saying the Georgian Jack Grealish. Some people have been calling him.
Yeah, I saw that too, actually. I mean, the profile is a bit different because, well, to put it in like a more chronological way, he started as a number 10 when he was like 17, 18, moved to Dinamo Tbilisi's first team. Number 10 / like a winger type of player who just likes to roam around basically behind the striker. And well, obviously it's a big reach, but it was kind of like compared to Kaka and stuff like that because of the amount of pace he had, the burst and dribbling and good passing range. I think you saw a clip of his kind of short performances against teams in the Conference League last year. So I mean, Jack Grealish is a bit, I guess, is not quite the type of player in my eyes, at least. But it's a tough ask, to be fair. I mean, Martin Odegaard is one of the players that I think kind of has the similar style because of the way he moves, the positions he fills in, and like the type of player he is. Because he's more of a ball handling, likes to dribble a lot, likes to pass, likes to find spaces and take a shot as well whenever he gets an opportunity. So I think Odegaard is someone close to his profile. But again, it comes to, the way he plays and where he plays, actually, because we've seen him play as a left winger. I saw him play as a number 10, a central attacking midfielder. So his style is kind of different whenever he plays in a different kind of role and a different kind of position, in different kind of environment as well, because you have to consider the team he's in and like the players he's playing around. So yeah, I think Odegaard is probably one of the players that compare him to the most, which is, again, it's not like a professional opinion, but at least that's how I see it. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. It's going to be fascinating because obviously we appointed Valérien Ismaël as our new manager in the summer. So we've been kind of learning about his style, which is very kind of high intensity. And it's been interesting actually seeing pre-season what we've been doing. And we have been playing three at the back, but we have been playing kind of free midfield with a defensive midfielder and kind of 2 8s. So it'd be interesting if he slots into that 8, or if we do play a 3-4-3, he'll be like the top of the attacking as the left winger. But before we get into kind of his strengths and weaknesses and what he can do, can we just have a bit of background into his career so far? Obviously, he's gone from playing with yourself, where you've marked him out of the game. But how's his career progressed? And am I right in saying he's had a couple of loan spells since?
Yeah. So he, as a 14 or 15-year-old, he actually used to train with the first team at Dinamo Tbilisi, which is like the biggest club in Georgia. Numerous trophies around like domestic football, when we also won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1981. So it's a big team, at least in like the region. He was pretty young when he actually made the first team, and he was basically, I'd say, like 17 or 18 when he was the key player for the team. He spent like 6 or 7 months as a first-team player, and then later on moved to Ghent in Belgium, which I mean, at the time it was considered as a good move because it was like the step before the bigger one. Because Belgium, the Netherlands, those two leagues are kind of like, just outside the top 5, so he can develop and get some game time and improve physically as well. At the time, it was actually linked with the move to Bayern Munich, and I've covered that story yesterday because it was more like a confidential kind of thing. He was nearly signed. He nearly signed for Bayern Munich, but his parents and his entourage decided it'd be better for him to move to Belgium to get some game time and some experience abroad, which at first it turned out pretty well because again, the system Ghent used to play with all the new guys, with all the youngsters. I'm not sure if you know, but like Jonathan David, who plays for Lille, is a Canadian international. He was his teammate, and those two players were kind of the key players for Ghent in season 2018-2019. And yeah, I mean, loads of teams were linked with signing him. Like Roma was one of the teams, Lazio was one of the teams after the first year and a half of him playing in Belgium, but he never really worked out at the time because Ghent were willing to sell him for a bit more money. It was like, I think it was like 12 million euros at the time. But then, yeah, one of the bad things that happened to him was his ACL tear on his left foot. I think it was on the left foot. Yeah, I think it was the left foot, which didn't really turn out well as you'd expect because ACLs are probably one of the worst injuries to suffer. Unfortunately for him as well. So that really brought him down for, I'd say, at least a year because apart from rehab, apart from getting into shape, didn't really get much trust from the new coach that was at Ghent. So fell out of favour in I'd say, good year away from where he was like a star player for Ghent. I didn't really get much chances with the national team because he barely stayed fit for good 2 years, something like that. And after that, yeah, loan moved to Hamburg last year in 2022. Seemed as one of the like promising moves because also like Germany, more quality around you, chance to move to top 5 again to promote to Bundesliga, but also in there like after a few good starts in like the first handful of games, fell out of favor again. But then he really had like a comeback season with Slovan Bratislava last season because our former national team head coach, Vladimir Weiss, brought him into his team with 2 other Georgian players that still play for Slovan Bratislava. Got the game time, got the trust, got the confidence back. And
is that the top team in Slovenia, is it?
Yeah, it's top team in Slovakia, yeah, definitely.
Slovakia, sorry.
Yeah. And got some minutes, got trust, stayed relatively fit because there were barely times when he was injured, maybe out for like a week or 2 at max. So that's the sort of thing he needs to, like work on his fitness, his physicality. And well, now, I mean, again, I'm curious to see how he's going to do in England because it's far more physical, it's far more athletic compared to Central Europe and like the eastern part of Europe. So yeah, that's definitely something to look out for in Chakvetadze's career. And hopefully, I mean, there's a buy option in his contract, so I'm pretty sure if he does well, Watford will not regret signing him on a permanent deal.
Yeah, you mentioned there in terms of the physicality of the league and how different the Championship is. Just on his strengths and weaknesses to his game then, what is it mainly that Watford fans can get excited about, but also what should they be worried about? Is the physicality a big concern, do you think?
I think so. That's probably one of the weakest things about him because, well, to move back a few years ago, he was a wingman who just used to accelerate. He used to like explode at times, beat players 1, 2, 3 players at like in quick succession. But the ACL tears and a few injuries, a few knocks definitely teared his physicality, his pace down a bit. So I personally, and again, I try to be as objective as I can because despite me kind of wishing the best for him, you have to be real. You have to realize what's real and what's not. And I think that's one of the things which concerns me the most. But again, I've seen a glimpse of him. Even the clip I've tweeted like a few hours ago is like, that acceleration is slowly coming back whenever he needs to. Because again, like you can't really compare the Slovakian Championship to the English one. There's definitely a huge difference in terms of, again, quality and physicality. So, as I said before, there should be some concerns on that matter, but I think if he works well, if the team gathers around him and makes him just to get better in the next, say, 2 or 3 months, he should be a worthy provider for the team on and off the ball as well. So,
yeah, one player that I'm trying to think, because I think with Watford, we want to kind of fall back in love with our team, really. And one player that I'm looking at for that connection, Sam, is Fernando Forestieri. That player's got a bit of magic, got a bit of flair, can beat someone, gets people off their seats. So I'm really hoping Chak can have that kind of impact.
hopefully.
And Luka, one thing you mentioned about out of possession, Valball or Valerian Ismail, all he talks about is intensity. Yeah. And he's going to want his players working hard. Is he good against the ball, running hard and pressing?
It depends. Because I've seen him run after players on the 82nd minute, but at the same time, I've seen him just standing up top and just waiting for the ball to come towards him. So I guess this also you have to look at this more like a personal level, in terms of for a player of his age, when he was 18, 19, when everyone was like, oh, you're the next big thing come from Georgia and stuff, when that really doesn't really work out, your morale just goes downwards a bit. So at times your confidence and motivation may not be as high as it was whenever you were 18, 19 or 20. So this, in my eyes, this is probably the time for him to come back and to be what he was good at. And if he wants to, he'll definitely will do. And it's all up to him to run after balls, to be with the ball and distribute well, and be, again, as I said before, be a provider for the team, not only for himself or only for his statistics and stuff like that. So again, as I mentioned before, if that's what the coach demands of him and from any other player, and he knows the profile of Chakvetadze, he should be aware that what he should expect from the player, and the player should be well acknowledged about what the coach will expect from him. So it's definitely something to think about, and definitely something to be excited about. I personally think that way. I may be biased, but again, this is something I wish for the player as a Georgia national team footballer.
Yeah. Nice, yeah. It does sound quite exciting, to be honest. And also with he's at a good age as well, and we've seen at Watford that you look at the career progression that we've had for certain players. You look at Richarlison, who's now at Tottenham, playing for Brazil. Joao Pedro just had that move as well. Gerard Deulofeu. Could you see him making that next step up, or do you think the Championship is his level at the moment?
I think this is, again, with all due respect to Watford, this is probably something for him to take that next step eventually. Again, if you consider if Watford goes up, I mean, that's the next step. I mean, you can't really go higher than the Premier League if you think about it, ideally. And if he stays at Watford, and if Watford stay in the Premier League, I mean, what more can you ask for a player coming from a smaller nation? Again, I have to mention that one as well. I think also depends on the circumstances around the team and around the player as well. I was personally happy with him moving to Metz, mainly because of the difference in terms of the French league and the English league, as well as him being more, ball dominant player, I'd say, like that, which France is more accustomed to. And if this is the career path he has to follow, if he has to play in England for years to come, I mean, no one's going to say no about that. I think even himself. So yeah.
I think from Watford's perspective, it's something that hopefully we're going to improve on is, and you mentioned it, Luka, we need to create a good environment around him that's going to give him a platform to thrive. He's still young. He's 23. He's never played in England. I'm sure he's going to get kicked a few times in his first few games. So we need to give him that environment, make him feel loved, make him feel like he can go to and express himself. And I think, if I'm being totally honest, maybe in recent years, Watford haven't done that. So I think that's, Sam, where we've talked about culture a lot. We talked about certain players who haven't wanted to be at the club. We've seen a lot of outgoings in this window. So hopefully that culture can turn around, and hopefully he can thrive and become a new fan's favourite for Watford. Sam, after listening to Luka, what's your overriding thoughts?
I mean, I hadn't heard of the player before today, to be honest with you. So I was just going off what clips off Twitter, and it's refreshing to see this new transfer strategy where we're taking players. You look at Reece Healy as well. I think is a good example, who perhaps have had those injury problems. Both Healy and Chakvetadze have had. I'm just looking down at my written way of saying it. Yeah. Are coming back from ACL injuries recently in their careers, and it's almost like we're trying to take these diamonds in the rough, almost what Ben Manga's known for as well, isn't he? Finding these diamonds who perhaps are coming off the back of injuries or bad spells of form, and really turning them into good players. So it's certainly a risk, but for what we're paying for him, and for the profile of the signing, I think it certainly sounds good, but. You're right. I think it does. The physicality element does worry me. Even looking at the videos, you can see that he doesn't have the normal championship sort of build. So I think there's a lot to be excited about, but also a lot to be cautious about, and still a lot more work to be done this window. Charlie, are you feeling confident about it?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it yesterday. It's the market that we need to be looking in. We can't go and spend £5 million on a player, or like some championship clubs have just been promoted 10, 15 million pounds. So we need to be savvy. We need to be shrewd. Am I right in saying, Luka, it's a loan deal with an option?
Yeah, with an option to buy, yeah.
So it's I see it as kind of low risk, high reward if it comes off. And everything that Luke has said kind of excites me. So yeah, I just think, like I said, let's try and create this good environment around him, and hopefully we can have another fan's favourite on our hands.
Hopefully.
Let's hope so. Luka, just last question for you, mate. From the outside, out in Georgia, what is your perspective on Watford? Because obviously it can look quite messy. I think from the outside, from the inside, it looks quite messy as well, to be honest. But yeah, what are your thoughts on everything that goes on at our football club?
To be fair, Watford first kind of caught the eye of Georgian supporters when Xisco Munoz was appointed, and he brought you guys up to the Premier League, which was a big surprise because like 6 months before he moved to England, he actually lost to a team managing one of the Georgian teams. He actually lost to a team from Faroe Islands, and we were like, no, he's not a good coach. How can he be a professional football coach? But then he moved to Watford, got them promotion. I was like, yeah, the best coach to ever been in Georgia. So the Premier League has actually got big coverage in Georgia, so it's definitely not a team that no one knows and stuff like that, because there are a lot of fans, I'd say like a majority of football fans know Watford quite well, I'd say, because in recent years we've been to Premier League as well. As I said before, like Manuel Denise, Richarlison, Ismail Assar as well. So some players to keep us excited whenever you guys have been in Premier League. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, the way people look at it is a good move, definitely a good move. But I think all of them are concerned about is his physicality. I guess that's it. Because as I said before, if a player from as small of a country as Georgia is moves to England, you can't really say a bad thing about it, can't you? Because ideally, that's the sort of league and sort of quality of football you strive for. Because in my eyes, that is the biggest kind of footballing nation in terms of like club football and such. So it's definitely a positive for him personally, because as I said, it's a comeback season for Chakve. So what better way to come back than to play in England, to play for, even without any kind of pressure, because it's not like as you guys said before, it's not like a permanent deal. It's still undecided whether he's going to stay there next year. So he's got lots to prove, and if he does well, he's definitely playing in England for, say, a good 2, 3, 4 years. So, yeah.
Sorry, one last question, Luke. It just sprung to mind there. Is he going to? Do you know if he speaks English? Is that going to?
I think he definitely can go by, mainly because the club has been out full of international players in Ghent. And one of the players, I think, Salomon Kalou. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Salomon Kalou, he was a teammate of Chakve when they were both at Ghent since 2017 to 2019, I think. So some sort of connection for him to find a home in a certain way, I guess. And he definitely can go by and talk with the coach or the players and understand the environment around him. And I'm definitely sure there's not going to be any language barrier for him in England, at least at the time he's in with the group of players he's with.
It's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned Kalu, and I know Luka. I'm just talking a bit separately, but Sam, what did you make of that reported transfer ban that apparently was to do with a payment to Kalu's academy in the deal that was a couple of years ago?
Yeah, it was a bit of a research on my part, looking for the name of that of the team as well involved, and it was it was probably one of the shortest lived transfer bans supposedly. I mean, we haven't had confirmation either way whether there was a transfer ban or whether there was whether we did have one and now it's been sorted out. But yeah, never a dull day. It was the first thing I saw when I woke up, and within 2 hours it seemed to have been resolved with Jake Levmore being announced. And something else as well is obviously it started off as a rumor, but I'm not sure. Can you see that there, the picture?
You need to bring it up.
Yeah, if we get the picture up.
Yeah.
That one there. Oh, did it go off? Oh, nightmare.
That was our man in the shirt.
Yeah, well, everyone saw it. So he's already in his training top. He might have trained today. We're not too sure. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Last question as well, Charlie. Obviously, Livermore has been confirmed. We touched on it in the video yesterday. But how are you feeling now that that deal is sorted?
Yeah, we spoke about it in yesterday's video. And obviously, there's we talk about maybe some negative thoughts on the deal. But it's done now. He's a Watford player. He's going to be representing our club. We need to back him. Hopefully he can bring that leadership. Hopefully he can help around players. He's played in the Championship. He knows exactly what it's about. So we can't get on his back at all. We need to back him. It's only on a 1-year deal as well. So it is what it is. Another body through the door, and hopefully it can be a positive one.
I agree with you. He's a Watford player now, and we'll back him, as we will with Chakvetadze. Thank you so much, Luka. That was a really, really interesting insight, and really appreciate it as well. Who do you actually support? What team do you support? Did you say?
Dinamo Tbilisi. Chakve is basically first and only Georgian team up until this point. So yeah.
Nice. Best of luck to Tbilisi during the coming season. Charlie, thank you as always, mate, for joining me today. And what a mental day, as I said at the start of the video. And I'm sure we'll be back next week with some more Watford content and with all your Watford breaking news as well. Make sure to follow our socials, and we'll see you all soon. Up the Hornets.